Your friendly neighborhood SpiderMan here, and welcome to Marc Webb. So, I had a fantastic time at the Red Car premiere in New York. After party was off the hook, and also a really cool background. And oh, one more thing, I did get the Amazing Spider-Man 2 cast to sign my autograph over here. Let's see if I can show you the whole thing. It's pretty big. Not sure if you can see the whole thing, but you get the drift. Anyway, my review, which is after this segment, is pretty long and detailed. So like I said, if you don't want to be spoiled, get the web out, because I go into really deep territory in this review. And that's just pretty much it. So stay tuned for a fantastic Amazing Spider-Man 2 review. It's already out. It's your friendly neighborhood SpiderMan here, and welcome to my web. So welcome to my review of the Amazing Spider-Man 2. And thing is, I'm not sure when it's safe to upload this because I am in a film. I just signed an NDA, so thinking I'm probably gonna upload it the night of, or maybe I'll just probably upload it a few days after, because well, first off, like I said, although everyone else's embargo has been lifted, it's different, because let me give you an example. The reason as to why I was allowed to upload my Captain America Winter Soldier review 2 weeks prior to the film's release, because I saw an early screening thanks to Marvel and Disney, is because I didn't sign an NDA. I was not in the Captain America film, so I do whatever I want. However, when you're in the film and everything, it's a totally different story, so you just have to wait until the embargo is lifted on their end and just decide to talk about stuff. Anyway, back on point. So this is not only my review of the movie, but I'm also going to go into details as to certain things that many probably are going to miss out on. I'm also going to give my opinion on how things should have been done and what I dislike. But overall, in my personal opinion, I really feel as if this is the best Spider-Man film in the series, although it is very flawed. But hey, I already tried warning you guys a long time ago on my videos. And let's just go back just to what I stated in my videos as to the storyline of the Amazing Spider-Man sequel. That Peter's going to be in a situation to where he loses a loved one, and someone else comes in to try to help him out, preventing him pretty much from breaking his #1 rule. And the villain of this film is pretty much going to challenge him in the same sense that Joker challenged the Batman. With the whole "with great power comes great responsibility" aspect. Now, obviously, things have changed because scenario they were shooting for, the character of Mary Jane Watson, who was supposed to be that person who was supposed to help him after the loss of a loved one, obviously Gwen Stacy. Obviously, everything's changed because they completely axed the character of Mary Jane, and obviously from the scenes that they shot with the character of Mary Jane Watson, Shailene Woodley, they were going in a different direction, and it was just supposed to set up the character and not really intervene with Gwen and Peter. They ended up cutting her anyway, but that's just totally, those of you who understand why she was cut, and the rest of you are just going to be like, oh, well, they cut it because they wanted to focus more on Peter and Gwen. Well, you know what? Whatever floats your boat. Obviously, they're not going to be realistic about it and just be like, well, fans are not happy about Shailene Woodley as Mary Jane, so, they're in a situation to where, that they're possibly going to go bankrupt, and Marvel and Disney already own the movie merchandising rights, so they're going to do whatever it takes to please the fans and stuff, and they go into panic mode. They went into panic mode the first time around, and they ended up cutting it because people at the screenings were complaining that it was ripping off Ang Lee's Hulk, and after watching this film, you'll see that I was right about the whole thing, something in Peter's blood and all that other stuff, and father had something to do with it, and obviously that was in the first film that they cut that one scene, and they were just like, oh, we want to make it as if like it's an accidental spider bite instead of like a planned one. And obviously, as you can see in the trailers, which obviously they cut, Harry Osborn shows Peter that Oscorp has been watching him, and they knew the whole time. So if you go to my past videos as to how Oscorp was watching him and all this other stuff, then he was there, it all makes sense. Anyway, back on point. Let's just get to the questions that everybody's asking, and I'm pretty sure, I mean, some people saw an early screening out overseas and stuff, so, and I've seen a few spoilers online, and, you know, they're, you know, pretty much not stating the obvious questions to which people really want the answers to, which is, what's up with Uncle Ben's killer? Does it get solved in this one? Nope, nothing at all. We don't find out anything about it, so, you know, it's just dead in the water. There's also no explanation as to why he got a new costume. And I know that as far as you know, the Daily Beagle and J. Jonah Jameson, there is something in there, but there's no physical actor playing the character. But pretty much Peter has to talk with Aunt May on how he's working for the Daily Beagle, selling photos, and Aunt May says that J. Jonah Jameson should be paying him a fair wage, and Peter replies that it would be a fair wage if it was 1961. Now, this could have been paying homage to the first appearance, Music Fantasy 15, which came out in 1962. Maybe that was just a reference to pay homage to that, but it was a year off. Anyway, no one's perfect, but we got it. Also, there is a scene where he's exchanging emails with J. Jonah Jameson, and he writes in the headline, "New Spidey Pics," and obviously, you know, it's just "Dear Mr. Jameson." In the email, from what I remember, it said "New pics and invoice enclosed," and he writes something in the sorts of, "I think you should consider that Spider-Man's trying to help, sincerely, Peter Parker." And of course, afterwards, you hear like a little, you know, email clink, and J. Jonah Jameson responds in capitalization. He writes "wrong," which reminds me of Kevin Spacey's "Wrong" from Superman Returns. Anyway, moving forward. You can also notice, if you pay attention quickly, that there's an email from Aunt May that says, "Don't forget the eggs," obviously paying homage to the first film. And another one from J. Jonah Jameson saying that, "No way, these are crap." Obviously, that's probably the first time Peter sent him photos. And also there's another email from Oscorp Human Resources stating, "Thank you for your commitment." I don't know, it just quickly glanced across the screen. I couldn't catch it. Some of the hilarious wittiness that Spider-Man performs in a movie that I just started laughing my ass off was when he first encountered Alexei and knocks on his window, knock knock. "Hey, Mr. Criminal, hey, my name is Spider-Man, you can call me Webhead, you can call me Amazing, but just don't call me late for dinner," you get it? That was pretty funny. And also another thing that's really, really funny is that Spider-Man's cell phone, the ringtone is hilarious. It's actually the ringtone for the you know, the song Spider-Man, obviously from the animated series. That's really funny. And while he's webbing up Alexei, he actually whistles the Spider-Man theme song, which is also kind of funny. You never really got that in the original films. I mean, you got the Chinese lady doing a Spider-Man thing, you know, but never has Spider-Man has whistled that. It was actually pretty funny. Also, another funny witty comment was when Electro was, you know, stated, "I will be like a god to them," and Spidey replies, "A god named Sparkles?" I was just cracking up. Everybody in the theater was actually cracking up there. I gotta say that yes, the chemistry between Peter and Gwen was very well developed for, you know, enough to care about what happens in the end, but I really did not like the choice in music they were playing. It did nothing for me at all. It's just one of those moments where you're really into the film, and then you just all of a sudden realize you're watching the movie, you know, you're not really into it, and you just, man, that song really does not, you know, I mean, the thing is, if you look at the old Spider-Man films, Chad Kroger's Hero, great song. I mean, if anything, I don't know, for some reason, Raindrops Falling on My Head, that was funny, that totally fit in Spider-Man 2, but the music they had going, I would prefer they went with the score rather than just these indie musics that just, I've never heard of, and really didn't do nothing for me. Hans Zimmer's score was definitely phenomenal, especially Farrell's, but I don't know. Anyway, moving forward, he does see throughout the film Captain Stacy's ghost haunting him, of the promise he made to keep going out of it, as a hint of foreshadowing of what's to come. And Stan Lee's cameo with him at the graduation scene, pointing at Spidey, changing his clothes, saying, "I think I know that guy." I like the first one, it was actually really funny, but this one is just kind of like, okay. Usually his cameos are really good, but that one is just, and of course Max Dillon, the character of Max Dillon, completely reminded me of Edward Nygma from the Batman Forever film. It was just, I don't know, I mean, I knew that one was coming already, but it was just weird. Anyway, while Peter tries to work on his web shooters to, you know, make it Electro-proof, There was a scene where, the batteries just keep blowing up on him. It was really, really funny. And this is what I love about the whole situation, is the chemistry between Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker. Is that it's not until later that Gwen mentions that he needs to magnetize his web shooters to make it work. So they use like a cop's jumper cables and car and the engine to magnetize the web shooters. And Gwen pretty much explains to him that if you magnetize a nail of a battery, it will hold the electric charge. So, and like I said, also another thing I really absolutely loved with the amazing performance between Andrew Garfield and Sally Field when she reveals to him on what really happened after the funeral. And if you remember the set pics with the FBI agents, yeah, that it was a short like flash scene there. So those two FBI agents came to the house, stating that Richard Parker ran off with important formulas from Oscorp and became a trader for money to offer to other investors. Which, go figure, it doesn't sound like the truth at all. It sounds more like BS to me. Anyway, I also like to mention that there were rumors a while back when Shailene Woodley got the boot that this actress, actually Sarah Gadon, got casted into the film, and everyone assumed, well, basically everyone made that assumption because one of her production castings or whatever tweeted some other person on there that yeah, she just got casted as Mary Jane, and before you know it, rumors went rampant that she's the new Mary Jane, but she's not. She actually plays an AI in Oscorp. This is elevator scene. You'll notice when you watch the movie, it's this girl that it's like Jarvis pretty much, but it's at Oscorp. You'll see what I'm talking about when you watch the movie. One thing I'd like to mention is that Donald Mennigan actually says that all the animal hybrid programs were destroyed to restore the investors' confidence. Which is funny because there was a Daily Beagle viral talking about that. Obviously, all that stuff that was going on with the Daily Beagle virals never coincided with the film, so I didn't pay attention to that. But obviously, it was something going on along those lines, so everything was pretty much destroyed. But we'll get into a little bit later as to what actually happened. There's also one of the things that really annoyed me is that they deleted so many scenes from the film, and I really feel as if those annoying airplane sequences during the final battle between Electro and Spidey were just pointless, a waste of time, and should have been cut, and they should have just kept whatever they deleted from the trailers that we've seen, and other scenes also that weren't listed on there should have been kept in, and that stuff just out. Just, I don't know, it just didn't make any sense to me at all. Also, one hilarious tidbit is that Electro plays Itsy Bitsy Spider from one power conduit to another, emitting loud musical notes, and Spidey says out loud, "I hate that song." It was really, really funny. Also what I'm gonna do right now is just try to go into each character and just talk about as to what happens to those characters in the movie. And again, it's just maybe something that maybe you guys would miss out on, and maybe not. Maybe you'd like to get more into it when you watch the film. Just chime in on the comment section. But as far as Richard and Mary Parker go, it is later revealed when Peter finds Richard's secret lair and watches the video that the formula only works with his DNA, Richard Parker's DNA. Hence why Peter was not affected by the side effects. And remember that video I did where I was talking about the test screenings and the audience felt that it was ripping off Ang Lee's Hulk? Well, there you have it. It had nothing to do with the spark that hit the spider and accidental spider bite. It had everything to do with the fact that there's just something in Peter's blood that is the key to perfecting the formula. Unfortunately for everybody else who tries to take the formula, it's not going to work because it's only encoded to the Parker's DNA. So that's it, end of story. Also, Richard, Mary obviously leave Peter behind because they're on the run from Oscorp, and they just, don't feel as if that was a life for Peter, so that's why he ended up getting left behind with Uncle Ben and Aunt May. And there's also an assassin on board the plane to kill them. And there was a whole fight sequence going on inside the plane, and Richard manages to upload a video exposing Oscorp's plan to his, pretty much the video that he uploaded went to another laptop to an underground layer in the abandoned, pretty much an abandoned Roosevelt subway station. And also, unfortunately, Mary was shot in the process in the plane, and the assassin was thrown out of the plane when, Richard, he had a gun, he shot the bullet out the window, and he flew out the window. And, I mean, as far as we were left off, they both died in a plane crash. There's no way to survive that unless they have superhuman strength, and obviously they don't. So that is the doornail. And, the thing is that, Peter tries to uncover as to, what happened with his parents and everything. And it was when he ends up breaking one of his father's calculators. It looked like a calculator to me. I'm not sure. It could have been something else. And when he broke it apart, when he threw it and it broke apart, the subway tokens came out. And he actually remembers what Aunt May said, stating on how, he took the Roosevelt D train every morning. So Peter researches on a computer to find out that it's actually an abandoned subway station. So he goes there, and it's a really cool scene, but that's where he finds Richard Parker's video. And this is very detailed, as to what is uncovered about Oscorp and, the parents and everything. But in the video, pretty much he talks about, Richard Parker talks about how Oscorp was already a genetic leader in research, that Norman Osborn made a deal with a foreign military organization, which leads me to Gustav, Mr. Fears, actually Gustav Fears, who, as we all know, is the gentleman, to continue funding Richard Parker's research. Richard discovered that that they were going to use it as biological weapons. Reminds me of Resident Evil for some reason when he said that, and he refused. So they, eliminated him out of the program, and Norman pretty much falsified evidence against Richard in order to take control of his work. Now, what Norman does not know is that the human DNA that was in the formula is of Richard Parker, so it only works on Peter, him, and whoever's in the Parker family. So, which means that without his blood, they can never replicate or continue his experiments successfully. So Richard tried to destroy as much as possible from the archives, but, he just didn't have enough time to kill all the spiders, as you see in the beginning of the film. So that's why he had to disappear and get away as fast as he could. And he says, unfortunately for Peter, although, it means the world to him, that, it's his son and everything, he has a responsibility to help prevent what he created and to protect Peter from what he knows that Norman Osborn is capable of. I believe that's what he stated in the video. And he also says that people will, he's afraid people are going to, think he's a monster for what he's created. And maybe they are right. And then after that, you hear little Peter upstairs calling for him, which we've seen in the first film, and the video got cut off. So there you have it. That's pretty much what it's all about. And that was pretty much what I've been stating in my past videos about the deleted scenes and everything, and how the script was in the first one, and like I said, that's one of the main reasons why they cut the first film, because it didn't resemble the Sam Raimi series. Who gives a shit, I mean, it's just, if you're going to go one way and you're going to later explain as to what's going to happen, might as well just keep it all in. But there you have it. That's it. It's all said and done. It's something that he did, pretty much. I could see how people are saying, well, it's a ripoff of Ang Lee's Hope. Well, duh. Anyway, let's go with Norman Osborn. Now, this is just really weird, because we all know that in comic books, Norman Osborn is Peter's greatest nemesis, but the guy dies on screen. He's dead as a doorknob. And there's a conversation between Chris Cooper, obviously, and Dane DeHaan, Harry, who plays his son. And what he does is that he talks about how there's an Osborn curse called retroviral hyperplasia. I never heard of that. It must have been made up for the movie, but it's a disease in the family bloodline that Norman has been trying to cure for decades through his aggressive genetic research at Oscorp. But he failed, and right before he died, he passed the cube to Harry, and you see like his grotesque goblin hands. That, obviously, it looks like he's been a goblin before or something, because he's just not looking that good. He's looking really green, and he has these like monster hands. It's just really weird. Anyway, he's hoping that Norman is hoping that Harry can find a cure or something for it. And when it's announced that Norman has died, there's like some kind of weird green laser showing on his bed after they announced that he's dead. And I don't know. It's just weird. I don't know. Must be something. But what's funny is that a lot of people are saying, well, he might return. But in an interview with Marc Webb, they asked, how could he be dead and then you have a future role in the movies? And Marc Webb just said, and I quote, this is what Marc Webb said, as for his future, I mean, I really don't want to say anything. He's dead. He's dead. He actually died. How about that? Well, then I guess the guy's not coming back, and Harry's just a head honcho. Which, I'm telling you, I said this a long time ago, that there's going to be some change that fans are not going to be happy about, and I'm calling it right now. Fans are not going to be happy that, well, I'm not going to get into it yet. Also, yeah, let's also, as far as what his quote is and everything, I left the hyperlink. It's actually in the description area. Go check it out. You see for yourself as to what Marc Webb actually said. So let's talk about Felicity Jones. Now, it's the funny thing is that she actually let the cat out of the bag, in a sense, when she pretty much let it out that she's actually playing Felicia Hardy. And the thing is that nobody knew what her character was. It was a really big secrecy throughout the whole damn film. It's like we knew everything except for what her character was. And the thing is that you only found out her name is Felicia in the movie, and her hair is black, obviously. But if you look at the ultimate black cat, she's got black hair and she's wearing one of those white wigs. So I mean, go figure, that makes sense. So Felicity Jones' character just appears out of nowhere at the Oscorp meeting table. She's not in the first frame, she's in the second frame, which is kind of weird because that's like kind of black cat, mysterious type thing. And we find out that she's Norman Osborn's assistant. When Harry asks her what her real name is, she responds Felicia. Now, the thing is, we can all speculate as to whether or not she's the character named Felicia or Felicia Hardy, but Marc Webb pretty much confirms who she really is in the interview with movies.com. Also, she confirms that she overheard Donald Mencken talk about how before they destroyed the spiders, they had the venoms extracted, that way they can comply with the lawsuits but still keep their formulas. When Harry asked, she said that the spiders are still, the venom extractions were located in a building on the off-the-books project called Special Projects. When Harry goes to look it up, it says it's been approved by Harry Osborn, which is weird because he had no idea about it. Then the Oscorp AI, played by Sarah Gadon, warns Harry that his user access has been denied. Then barging in comes Donald Mencken from security. Obviously, Donald was setting Harry up and accuses him of illegally experimenting on Max Dillon, pretty much to get him out of control of Oscorp. You know, and he's pretty much thrown out of the building. And here's the movies.com article where the interviewer says to Marc Webb, and you've set up another potential love interest of Felicity Jones' character. She's had a dalliance with Peter in the comic books. Marc Webb responds, yes, in the comic books. Who knows what's going to happen with that in the future, but there are a few possibilities that we're exploring, but in terms of theme, that's certainly an interesting thing to play with. So obviously she is Felicia Hardy, just a different version of it, just like the Ultimate Comics. Let's talk about Electro a little bit, Max Dillon. What's funny is that although he doesn't wear the green and yellow costume in the movie, his cake, if you notice, is actually green and yellow ice birthday cake decoration. Pay homage to the original costume. And I gotta say, the Electro scene in the morgue was creepy as hell. Even the electric eel gave me like a creepy vibe, like it was just smiling at him before he bit into Max. It was just really, really creepy. It was really cool. Also, Electro has the power to disintegrate, like how Sandman did in Spider-Man 3. The image of Spidey in a firefighter suit, you know, it's how he takes Electro out the first time in Times Square with the water. It was pretty hilarious. Like a really cool scene. I'm going to talk about a little bit of Harry Osborn the Goblin. Now, the whole thing is that with Harry is that he contacts Peter and tells him that he is dying. And Harry shows Peter a video of Richard and Norman at Oscorp talking about the spiders. Now, according to the video, it was 14 years of research, and they never made it to human trials with the spiders that Richard Parker bred. That was a mix of radioactive isotopes and human DNA. Obviously, we all know now it's Richard's DNA. Because spiders are known to fully heal themselves, you know, that's pretty much the whole agenda of it, because Norman Osborn is dying. And it's also passed on to Harry. Forgot to mention that one. I think I did, I'm not sure. He knows that Peter takes photos of Spider-Man, so he wants him to contact Spider-Man, see if he can get him his blood to cure him. But Peter obviously is aware the last time he tried, he became responsible for what happened to Dr. Connor's transformation into a lizard. So Peter lies to Harry and tells him that, you know, he took a photo of Spider-Man using a long lens and doesn't know him personally. After Harry pleads with him and begs Peter, he then responds he will try and find Spider-Man so he can get, you know, talk to Harry himself. The scene where Harry tells Peter that Oscorp has been watching him and was not in the film, and it makes sense, I guess, because then it'd be very easy to figure out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Spider-Man does end up visiting Harry and tells him personally he cannot offer his blood. Harry offers him money, and he replies he does not want his money. Then Harry goes apeshit and says that everyone wants his money and gets really pissed off, and that was just the end of that scenario. I gotta say that when Harry and Electro team up, it's really amazing, and they're really evil together, especially when they get a hold of Donald Mencken. That was actually a pretty cool scene. Then Harry pretty much takes Donald at gunpoint, and makes him take him to the downstairs special projects area so he can take the serum. I gotta say, when Harry takes the serum, it's pretty graphic. It's pretty cool, and Donald ends up escaping. But like I said, it's a really twisted scene when he turns into the Green Goblin. So I'm going to talk about Gwen Stacy for a bit, and the whole ending scenario, which is actually this is why I feel. I mean, granted, yeah, there are a lot of flaws in the film, but this is one of the main reasons as to why I feel as if this part of the film towards the end is really just makes it the best Spider-Man film of the series. But let's just go over Gwen for a little bit here. She pretty much gets a phone call when she's at Oscorp from Oxford Scholars Program, and you know, pretty much she's pretty much getting a scholarship to London. You know, she didn't go there, she didn't end up going there, but let's just keep moving forward. She also gets in trouble at Oscorp because she starts investigating on what happened to Max, searching through the database system, but that'll make sure that he's wiped out from the system. So he's pretty much being held at Ravencroft Institute, where he's being experimented on Dr. Kafka. And by the way, there is a nod to the Miles Warren. We all know the Jackal, as you can see in the photo here at Ravencroft. And thing is that Gwen leaves Peter a voicemail stating that she got into Oxford and was on her way to the airport by taxi by the George Washington Bridge, which is, you know, what that scene is. But like I said in my past videos, the way it happens, but not in the way you think it is. And there's two different stories to that one, but I'll go over that in a little bit. So pretty much, you know, she's going to take the summer program to make things easier on their breakup, because, you know, they keep breaking up back and forth, go back together. But it was a small thing, but, you know, not really that much of a big deal. But he writes, Spider-Man writes, "I love you" by the bridge, and Webb swings her away. And you know, I mean, granted, Peter should have just let her go, and I'll get into that in a bit. So what happens is, during the movie, the really cool scene is that Gwen comes in and saves the day, runs Electro over with the NYPD car and saves Spidey. And Spidey, you know, starts yelling at Gwen, asking what she's doing there, but, you know, Gwen pretty much knows the grid specs and, you know, how to reset the system. She argues that no one makes a decision for her, and it's her choice. She asks how they're going to stop Electro, and state that if you overcharge a battery, which obviously happened to Peter in the beginning, it blows, so they're going to use Electro's powers against him to stop him. Now, this is the scene that really is just, it's great. It's short, sweet, but you know what, to the point. The first time I heard Green Goblin's laugh, it was just pretty creepy and scary as hell, and that's the way the Goblin should have been, always have been like. When the Goblin sees that Gwen is there, he figures out that Peter's Spider-Man, and it pisses him off even more to lie to him. He mentions that he said that Spider-Man said that he meant that, you know, Spider-Man stands for hope and everything, and that he lied. You know how Spider-Man's supposed to give people hope. So he's going to take it away from him, which means Gwen. So he grabs Gwen, flies up, as we see in the trailer, and Gwen pretty much tries to reason with Harry, but the Goblin replies that Harry is dead. Spidey says that if he wants to fight him, let Gwen go, which you've seen in the trailer also. Sort of reminds me of when Batman tells the Joker to let Rachel go, and he pretty much gives a poor choice of words. That's exactly what happens there. She doesn't die there. After Spidey catches Gwen and lands on the gears, Goblin throws a pumpkin bomb, which explodes, and while Spidey and Goblin are battling each other, the glider drops and breaks the gears that Gwen was walking on, so Spidey webs her and catches her and tries to bring her up. The Goblin attacks Spidey again, and Gwen is literally hanging by a thread. Spidey has Goblin choked up on the web by the gears area, and his foot is on the gear as well. The clock strikes, and the clock is very important. You see it in the beginning of the movie, and you see it in the end for a good reason. And the gear does not hold, and it breaks apart. It's very sad because when this happens, Gwen calls out for Peter as she's falling. Goblin ends up getting himself thrown away from the impact and knocked out. As seen in the trailer where Gwen is falling, and you see it through Spidey's eyes as he leaps to catch her in midair, this is where Gwen meets her fate. As Gwen is falling in slow motion, you clearly see the fear in her eyes. And you know deep down in your heart that she's going to meet her end. While a part of you is saying Spidey's going to catch her and save her. She can't die now. While Spidey shoots his web in slow motion traveling through the gears, that Gwen suddenly closes her eyes. Spidey latches onto something and pulls on the webbing. But he's just too late, because the whiplash from the webbing, which caught her by her stomach area, causes her spinal and neck to break. Now, I've heard a lot of people, you know, after they left the theater saying, you know, that their head hit the floor very hard, but, you know, I don't know what everybody else is looking at, but she never hit the floor at all. She's still in midair, hung up by the webbing. That's just pretty much how she died. She doesn't hit the floor at all. The clock strikes again, and Spidey leaps down towards Gwen to go check up on her, and she's just hanging there on the web, motionless like a twisted pretzel, and Spidey takes off his mask and holds her like it wasn't a comic book panel. And says, "Gwen, hey, breathe, you're okay, stay with me, her nose starts to bleed, and he just suddenly starts to realize that, yeah, she's done, she's gone, and he just, no, please, please, and just starts bawling. But, I mean, the scene in the trailer to where Peter screams out was cut, and it was just more of an emotional scene. I don't know why they cut that part out, but the camera zooms out with Spidey crying and holding Gwen in his arms, and the scene was very emotional, and everyone in the theater was shocked and silent. I know some people that were there were already aware that she was going to die. And it's interesting because when the clock hand finally comes to a rest, it's at the 121 position, which is paying homage to the night that Gwen Stacy died comic book issue, which appeared, the first appearance was Amazing Spider-Man number 121, or the night that Gwen Stacy died. And the next scene moves forward to Gwen's funeral, with the Stacy family crying and Peter and Aunt May present. And when people saw in the trailer that Peter was at the cemetery, fans speculated it was just a flashback scene of him visiting Uncle Ben. And the reason why I was there is because the film takes place after the film, or flashback scene. But nope, that wasn't it. That was the funeral for Gwen, and that was not the case. And like I said, I tried warning people so many times and hinting that the death of Gwen Stacy was coming, but no one listened. And that it was just. Let me quote someone on my YouTube comment section page where they stated, "What if it's a red herring?" Well, how's that red herring working out for you, pal? And despite my accurate reports on the past Spider-Man films and hints in my videos of what's to come for the sequel, we're still in disbelief. But guess what? I was right once again. Heck, I even made videos prior to anybody. I was making videos about the Green Goblin coming, making laughs, ha ha ha, and everything. And everyone's just like, "What the hell's he doing with that?" And all of a sudden, what do you know? Green Goblin's in a poster, and everyone's just going crazy about it, trying to figure out what's going on. But like I said, the only changes to what I stated in my videos in the past about what's to come for the sequel was that they were still in, pretty much that Peter was going to have help during the time that he lost his loved one, someone being the force that stops him from breaking his number one rule. Well, that loved one that I was referring to is Gwen Stacy, and that person who was going to help Peter during this difficult time was Mary Jane. But obviously they cut her completely from the film, and even if they didn't cut her completely from the film, they were going a different direction, just introducing her character. As far as to the villain that would challenge Peter Parker's aspect of great power comes great responsibility and try to break his number one rule, like the Joker did with Batman, was indeed Harry Osborn and not Electro. I don't know why Marc Webb stated Electro was the main villain, because clearly, I don't know, he didn't feel like he wasn't. Felt like definitely Harry Osborn was the evil one the whole freaking time. He was just Electro was just a person who was treated unfairly all of his life, felt betrayed by Spider-Man, and has an obsession. But Harry was betrayed by his own best friend, who wanted help to save his life, of a cure. It was a life and death situation, which I find more serious than an obsession. And that to me is more of a motive and a reason to become a villain. Hell, at this point, Harry is responsible for the death of Gwen Stacy, which makes Spider-Man, Harry his greatest enemy of all time now. Which went to Norman Osborn, but fans weren't too happy about that one. I remember people complaining about that, and I guarantee you that a lot of fans are going to be pissing away on that one. And like I said, when I stated that what happens to Peter's lost loved one will happen like it was in comics, but not in the same way that you think it will be, and disappoint some fans, everyone assumed it'd be Electro that would be responsible for the death of Gwen, but nope. The death of Gwen Stacy wardrobe was present, and the way she died, but it was Harry, not Norman, who was responsible for the scene at the clock tower, not George Washington Bridge. So, all my videos were very easy to figure out, as far as my hints and clues. Not a big deal. Anyway, the only missing link from the original concept was Mary Jane, and we all know that Shailene Woodley was cast as Mary Jane, and they filmed her scenes, but, got cut. I even pointed out as more evidence that when Shailene was hired, our character of Mary Jane was going to be the lead in the third film, and for a very good reason, because Emma Stone's character of Gwen Stacy will no longer be present. Let's go moving forward, because this is where it gets interesting. Now, I've been teasing a lot. This is just my theory, because in the first film, it was never revealed as to who the Man in Shadows was. Obviously, we'll find out who he really is in this one. But, in the sequel, the Man in Shadows pays a visit to Harry at Ravencroft Institute, who seems to be back to normal again. I don't know how. At this point, Spider-Man has been MIA for 5 months after the death of Gwen Stacy. Man in Shadow says, "Leave us." Harry says that he's made some progress. Man in Shadows replies that he has identified several worthy candidates. Now that Spider-Man is gone, the city will never be the same. And Harry is counting on that. So Man in Shadow says, speaking of progress, that Harry's looking a little bit better. Harry replies that it comes and goes, and that he wants to know more. Man in Shadows asks how many men did he have in mind, and Harry replies that he wants to keep it small, that everything he needs is at Oscorp. The scene jumps to Oscorp, where the AI, played by Sarah Gadon, says access granted Mr. Fears. Now, most idiots thought it's Mr. Fears, another character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, one of the villains, but it's not that Mr. Fears, because at the end credits, Michael Massey is credited as Gustav Fears, aka the Gentleman. He even says the Gentleman at the end of the credits, so go look at it when you're watching the end credits. And Harry wants to know who's the first volunteers, and the Man in Shadow responds that it's Alexei, who's apparently serving a life sentence and most eager to join them. Now, the Man in Shadows is passing by. We see the vulture wings and Dr. Octopus tentacles, but in the next room it was supposed to be the symbiote, and it's the Rhino suit. Harry then says, good, start with him, and then, we see a new bulletin that Alexei has escaped from the vault, which is another prison. It's not Ravencroft, it's totally different. And Mini Spidey is watching this on TV, and they mentioned that Spidey has been MIA for 5 months. It also mentioned that the police department hopes for the return of the web slinger as well as the whole world. And asking the same question of where is Spider-Man? Now, Aunt May and Peter are watching as well, and she replies that too bad about that spider guy. That too bad that he disappeared when it seems like everybody needs him. Now, this is also a very strong point in this film. Aunt May is pretty much using a metaphor here where she's holding Uncle Ben's stuff and says to Peter that the heavier the box gets, the lighter she feels. Peter then, assumes that she expects him to throw it all away, but then she states that it's part of her and that she's just trying to find a better place for it. That she will take one last look before she puts the box away where it belongs. It's a very, very strong metaphor and an inspiring speech as to what Peter should do. Peter then decides to finally watch Gwen's graduation speech, which, pretty much, I'm going to go over as to what she stated, and I'll try to get it down to the point as much as I remember it, is that it's easy to feel hopeful on a beautiful day like today, that there will be dark days ahead of us, there will be days where you feel all alone, and that when hope is needed most, that no matter how bad it gets, or how lost you feel, you must promise that you will hold on to hope. Keep it alive. We have to be greater than what we suffer, which also a line that Alvin Sargent wrote in the script that Marc Webb wanted to use for Uncle Ben's lines to say in the first film, and Mark talks about it at the end of the first film during the commentary. I'm going to continue. She also says, my wish for you is to become hope. If you believe that, and even if we fail, what better way is there to win? As we look around today and all the people who helped us make us who we are, I know it feels as if we're saying goodbye, but we carry a piece of each other as to what we need to do next, to remind us of who we are and who we are meant to be. Now, as Peter's listening to this, he's packing up everything in the box and he puts it away. Next scene is the very last part of the film, where you see the Rhino breaking out of what seems to be bank vaults, and the Rhino's in the middle of the street with the police on the other end shooting at him, and the Rhino shooting back. Now, Mini Spidey, dressed up as Spidey, goes out in the middle of the street and confronts the Rhino. All of a sudden, Mini Spidey hears a voice that says, hey, Spider-Man. He turns around and sees Spider-Man, and he says that he knew that he would be back. Spider-Man tells him thanks for sticking up for him, and that he's the bravest kid he's ever seen. Tells him to go back to his mom, and he'll take care of the situation. It's a very cute scene, He wasn't as annoying as that kid from Iron Man 3. So then Spidey hilariously tells the Rhino that on behalf of the fine people of New York City and rhinos everywhere, that he puts his mechanized paws in the air. The Rhino says never, and he says that if he catches him, he'll kill him. And Spidey says, you want me to come down there so you can kill me? Rhino replies yes, and Spidey says he'll be right there. And that is the final shot of the, Spidey hitting the Rhino with the manhole cover. And that was it. And, like I said, beautiful film, really well done. It's a Spider-Man film we deserve, but at the same time, it does have its flaws in the same sense that the first Spider-Man film was based on the Green Goblin's last stand, but what was a missing link? Gwen Stacy. In the same situation here. It's like, it kind of defeats the purpose of Norman Osborn being, Peter Parker's biggest arch nemesis. Now it belongs to Harry. It's just kind of weird. It's kind of like having the old, Harley Quinn responsible for the death of Jason Todd. Well, we all know it's a Joker, and that pretty much, that's what did it right there. When the Joker become Batman's arch nemesis, when he killed the poor kid, you know, Robin. He took a crowbar and beat the crap out of him with it. And it's just, you know, you just, I don't know, I feel as if, and I mean, I don't know how it's going to happen when it hits here in the U.S. and everything, but I have a feeling the fans are going to be bitching about that. I know some people left the theater, they were bitching about that as well. They're like, oh, I don't like that Norman Osborn's like dead, and he had nothing to do with the whole Gwen Stacy thing. It wasn't at the George Washington Bridge, that they were teasing it and having a clock tower, blah, blah, blah. I mean, yeah, people are already bitching and moaning about that one, among other things, but, I mean, the way I would have done it in the Marc Webb series was to do what they wanted to do in the first place, which, you know, do the intro to Mary Jane in the first film with the jackpot scene. You know, and pretty much build an existing friendship between Harry, Mary Jane, Gwen, and Peter. Because that was really a big thing in the comic books. And it's like, in this series, it's like, they don't even know each other. You know, it's, I don't know. I mean, the same way they built a relationship between Peter, Harry, and MJ in the first go-around, you know. And it's like, when shit hit the fan, it's like things got really emotional and intense. And in this one, you know, when Gwen and Harry met in the elevator, it's just, you know, when he didn't pretty much do the dirty deed. It was pretty much, you know, Spidey's fault, the whole accident thing, just like it happened in comic books. But it really, I don't know, it just didn't do it for me, you know. It's just, I really wish they would have done that, but obviously they did their own thing. But one of the other things that really just pisses me off is when they use made-up characters like Dr. Rotha in the first film, and pointless. And I mean, there's so many characters they could use from the comic books, like, you know, they could use Mendel Strom in that scene or some shit like that. Also, probably just more, I don't know, it's like when watching the Sam Raimi films, it's like, there's just a lot of iconic moments, like that one scene between, you know, Mary Jane and Peter in the hospital. It's a great example, and I mean, I had a dime for every time somebody used that stuff on our girlfriends, or I've heard stories about that, you know, and it's like they use that speech and that line, and it's very iconic, you know. There's a lot of moments from the original films, and it's just like, oh, I remember that, and especially the upside down kiss. Everybody still talks about that until this day. There's really not much of that going on in the Marc Webb series. I don't know, that's just me. Like I said, I really do think that Tobey Maguire played a better Peter Parker, mainly because, you know, I can imagine him getting bullied, or, you know, just people wanting to kick the crap out of this kid, you know. But with Andrew, it just seems like he's like a chill guy, you know. It doesn't seem like anyone really would want to beat the crap out of him, you know. But like I said, I have an understanding that this is a contemporary version of the character, and, you know, the whole hipster thing is just an outsider, an outcast. This is what a nerd would be in this time, you know. But I don't know. But I definitely feel as if Andrew 100% is a way better Spider-Man. When he's Spider-Man, like, it's like this guy's leaping right out of the comic books, you know. Like, that is the Spider-Man I knew, loved, and grew up with, you know what I'm saying? Even from the cartoons and everything, Andrew Garfield really is the definitive Spider-Man. I'll give him that. And like I said, man, it's the Spider-Man film that we've been waiting for, but it just does not have the heart and soul of, or the iconic moments like the Sam Raimi series. It still bugs me until this day. And like I said, I really just was not a fan of the music. You know, it's on again and all that. I don't know. I mean, it's like if you go back to Chad Kroeger, the Hero song. That was a brilliant song. I mean, that really hit it, you know. It's a very iconic song and everything, and it's just, they really didn't hit it with it. I mean, Hans Zimmer did a terrific job, so did Farrell, but, you know, all the music they had in there, didn't do it for me. And, you know, that's just pretty much it. That concludes my review, and, great film, but I have a bad feeling that it's gonna get a lot of fans bitching or mixed reviews or something. I just have a bad feeling about this when it hits the US. I really do, especially from what I've been reading from people who've seen it early in the UK and everything. You know, it's just, things are not going so well. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy it, and good luck to Spidey 2. And can't wait for Amazing Spider-Man 3 and see what they got going. Alright, Spidey out.
Face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot.
Woo!